Pixie Plane of Existence, Chapter 5, Creeps and Weirdos. Kat was dealing with her own crisis of conscience. She avoided her parents as much as possible. The girls were in the woods most of the time. They were drawn to the lure of casting, then watching as their spells manifested. Unbeknownst to them, the witches were being watched. They tried changing the color of leaves, calling up a rainstorm, and brought back a field mouse from the dead. It lived for only a minute or two before returning to its former state. They decided that romancing the dead was not something they would be using, ever. Phew! That was good news to the unknown presence spying on them. Kat's father went back to the city. They'd barely spoken the entire time he was home. Delia had kept herself busy puttering around the garden, and Steve decided to make himself scarce, heading back a day early. He'd hoped to start healing his two girls, but it was evident that all he was doing was causing pain. Kat didn't ask after him when he left. She curled up with Delia on the couch, and they flipped through magazines in welcome silence. There was so much going on right now. School starting, and her dad being a jerk. She needed Delia, and she could sense her mom needed her too. On Labor Day, she headed to the mall with Winnie and Jenna on the hunt for more black shirts and ripped jeans. The outdoor strip mall had a variety of shops and was bustling with activity. They were having a good time until a group of girls followed them from store to store, taunting Winnie and Jenna. One of them stepped on the heels of Kat's shoes, causing them to come off. Her name was Madison, and she was the quintessential cheerleader. Beautiful, smart, and skinny. Mean as hell. She set out to make the lives of anyone that didn't meet her standard of cool miserable. She and her friends continued to harass them, mocking their clothes and the fact that Winnie wasn't a size 0. They used Kat's age to target her as a baby. I bet she doesn't even wear a training bra yet. You guys sure have cool friends, Madison said snidely to Winnie and Jenna. Why do you want to hang out with these goth wannabe losers? She pointedly asked Kat. Finally, Jenna had enough and whirled around. Not everyone wants to be a stupid cheerleader, Madison. If you weren't friends with Jet, I would knock you on your ass right now. So just go reapply your lip gloss or something, Jenna retorted fiercely. Madison sneered. I think I will. Unlike you, I actually like looking at my face. Come on, ladies, let's leave these whack-ass weirdos to themselves. She and her little entourage walked away giggling and making more nasty comments about the trio. I'm sorry, Kat. I guess you learned that we aren't the most beloved ladies in Warden, sighed Winnie. I wanted to be a cheerleader before Jenna convinced me not to care. Jenna shook her head. Don't be fooled, Kat. Winnie still cares, although she shouldn't. I still don't get why you want to hang out with a group of people that will like you one day and hate you the next. Winnie didn't have an answer for them. Kat had never been popular, but she never really had been targeted as a nerd either. She hoped that she could just fade into the background like she did at her old school. Oh well, at least this year she was going to have friends to hang out with at lunch and in the hallway. She hoped that she could avoid Madison and her crew as much as possible. Luckily, she didn't have any desire to be a cheerleader. As they drove back from the mall, they tossed around ideas of spells they could use to exact some justice on Madison. We could make her gain a pound every time she insulted someone, Jenna said with a twinkle in her eye. Ooh, that's a good one, Kat replied, but she didn't think they were serious. Still, she gently reminded them that whatever magic they practiced, it would return to them threefold, according to Ruby's grimoire. Guys, we can't put any nasty spells on them. We'd just end up with karma kicking our butts. Remember, harm none, and do what thou wilt. Winnie rolled her eyes. We'll see if you still believe that crap after a few weeks of torment from Madison. Jenna dropped off Winnie first. She lived in an enormous house in the heart of Warden. Jenna saw the awe in Kat's eyes and explained. Her parents have a lot of money, but not a lot of time. Her mom is a lawyer, and her dad is some bigwig shot finance guru. She is an only child, extremely spoiled. Jenna sheepishly admitted. I started hanging out with her because she would buy me crap. The thing about Winnie is she's so insecure because her parents expect her to be perfect. I like her the way she is. That's why we're besties. How come we never hang out over at Winnie's house? Kat was curious. Jenna snorted. Because her parents hate me. Before me, all Winnie tried to do was be what her mom wanted her to be, a carbon copy of Madison. That's not Winnie. She won't admit it, but she's a great artist and a moody person. Can you imagine Winnie trying to be bubbly? The girls both giggled. Definitely not, said Kat. She pictured pudgy Winnie in a cheerleader uniform trying to do a cartwheel. The image was hilarious, and she laughed a little bit harder. You're pretty dope too, Miss Kitty Cat, said Jenna warmly as they pulled up to Kat's house. Do you want to catch a ride with me tomorrow or take the bus? Kat smiled and Jenna exclaimed, Please, like you have to ask. I'll see you in the morning. Kat smiled at Jenna and exclaimed, Please, like you have to ask. I'll see you in the morning. She got out of the car and realized she felt good for the first time in days. School for Kat was its own special level of hell. Nobody in her classes tried talking to her. They already had their group of friends. So she always made a beeline for the desk in the back left corner of every room. To make matters worse, Jenna and Winnie were not in her lunch period, and neither was Amanda, the girl she'd met last year. Guess who was? Madison and her entourage, of course. She tried to immerse herself in her book and avoid looking across the small lunchroom at the cool table. She was certain that their giggles were about her. She felt absolutely raw and exposed, but she'd be damned if they were going to make her cry. Then, out of nowhere, something pelted her in the head. Samantha, one of Madison's friends, was throwing baby carrots at her. Ignore it. Just get up and walk away, she muttered to herself under her breath, as she was about to finish lunch early and go roam the halls on her own. Jet slid into the seat next to her. Hey, I thought you could use some company. My sister hates those girls, and I'm not really a big fan either, he said nonchalantly as he bit into his sandwich. Madison cheers for my football team. She's super hot, but the way she treats Jenna makes my skin crawl. Kat looked up from her book. He had a goofy smile on his face, and he sat confidently next to her. Thanks, Jet, but you don't have to be my lunch buddy out of pity. It's really okay. It came out harsher than intended. Damn! She was so nervous around him that the thought of eating lunch with him made her panicky. Jet screwed up his face and answered humorously, All right, I see you've got this covered. I'll catch you later. And with that, he got up and went and sat with a few of his football buddies 2 tables away. Stupid. She was just so stupid sometimes. He was being nice to her because she was friends with his sister, but that didn't mean she couldn't accept the invitation. The rest of the day she spent going through the motions. She met Winnie and Jenna at their lockers, which was on a different floor than her own. The middle school kids were on the second level of the school, and the high school grades 10 and 11 were on the first, and seniors had the third floor to themselves. How's it going, Kat? I can't wait to get out of here. Do you guys want to do some spells after school today? Yeah, I can't wait to get out of here either. Guess who's in my lunch period? Kat asked, a tinge of self-pity in her voice. Jenna gave her a half hug before punching her in the shoulder. Cheer up, Charlie. It'll be okay. Just try to sit by somebody in one of your classes. Kat was surprised that Jet hadn't mentioned trying to sit by her. She thought for sure that Jenna was going to give her some crap about blowing him off. After all, it was a favor to her, right? When school was done, she met Jenna and Winnie at the car. They decided that they would get together after dinner. Kat had homework anyway, and she knew her mom would want to know how school was going. After she was dropped off, Kat immediately went up to her room to avoid her mother, not able to deal with the parent stuff after such a harsh day. Her mom called up the steps after her. How was your first day of school? Your dad wants you to give him a call. The only thing Delia heard was the slamming of Kat's door. Safe in her room, she curled up on her bed and thought about Jet. Why had she pushed him away? Lunch was going to be miserable with Madison and her crew mocking her every day. She rolled over onto her stomach and cried under her pillow. Exhausted from her rocky first day, Kat drifted off into a weird dream. The tiny woman with wings made an appearance. She was wailing into Kat's ear, but it sounded like complete gibberish. It was obvious she urgently needed something. Shaken by her weird dream, she rushed downstairs to grab a quick dinner before their coven meeting in the woods. Delia was talking in hushed tones on the phone. She knew it was her dad, and she didn't want to talk to him. "Hey, sweetie, your dad wants to talk to you," Delia said, holding out the tan-colored phone. Its curled cord twisted around her mother's waist for a moment as she awkwardly tried to untangle it. Kat pushed her mother's hand away and sat down at the table with a scowl on her face. Delia quickly ended the conversation with Steve and cozied up to the back of Kat's chair, combing her fingers through her gnarled hair. She persisted. "It was that bad, huh? Do you want to tell me about it?" Kat shook her head. "No, I'm just really hungry. I didn't eat much at lunch today. Jenna and Winnie aren't in my lunch period." Her mom kissed her on the head. "Okay, Annie. I have a pizza in the oven, and it's almost done." Kat was running as fast as she could, but her gut was aching from the pizza she devoured before leaving. She was late. Supposed to be there 20 minutes ago. When she arrived, she found Jenna and Winnie sitting cross-legged across from each other with the god and goddess candles burning in the small space between them. Jenna's palms were flat and facing upwards, and Winnie's were hovering over them. A thin veil of white light was glowing out from their hands, and they were chanting. "As is your beauty, so shall it be mine. As is your beauty, so shall it be mine. As is your beauty, so shall it be mine." Winnie pulled strands of blonde hair from her pocket and held them over the candles until nothing was left but the sickening smell of burnt hair. Jenna looked over and realized Kat was there, and she didn't look pleased. "Where were you? I wanted to wait, but we thought you weren't coming," she said crossly. Kat sputtered her excuse. "I'm sorry. I ended up taking a nap, and supper was late. I was hungry, so I decided to come after eating." Winnie shrugged her shoulders. "No big deal. You just missed out on a beauty spell. Not that you really need it anyway." A beauty spell? She wondered what it entailed, but decided that she would see for herself when Ruby's grimoire was finally passed to her. She knew that the fat black leather-bound book was with a tree of life symbol embossed on it contained a plethora of information. Kat was a bit peeved at Winnie and Jenna for being shady about sharing it. Then again, she did complete the circle, so it wasn't like she was totally vulnerable. The magic was always stronger when she was around. Jenna and Winnie had said as much. With her presence, their spell casting had finally manifested itself into reality.